What is going on here? I demand an explanation.
We work for a highly funded yet unofficial government agency.
An intelligence organization that fears intelligence, historically not awesome.
The United States is a democratic nation. Here the people rule. We build no walls to keep them in, nor organize any system of police to keep them mute.
Freedom isn't free at all, but it comes with the highest of costs.
We have you, the listeners, and the hosts at
Revolution Radio.
for allowing us to bring you a platform. Speech.
DPR Street Gang, most of our fighting. Standing by, over. DPR Street Gang, most of our fighting. Standing by, over.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
clocks run out. Time's up.
Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. A broken heart's a smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
Sex and drugs and rock and roll
My name's Jimmy.
is all my brain and body need.
It's Revolution Radio.
Sex and drugs and rock and roll.
And Into the Microcosm is on the air.
It's very good indeed. Keep your silly ways or throw them out the window. The wisdom of your ways. I've been there and I know lots of other ways. What a jolly bad show. If all you ever do is business you don't like. Sex and drugs and rock and roll.
I don't think we should talk about this. Come on, why not? People might misunderstand what we're trying to say, you know? But that's a part of life.
Oh, yeah. We've got a great subject tip for you today, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex.
people at home or in the crowd. It keeps coming up anyhow. Don't decoy, avoid, or make void the topic, cause that ain't gonna stop it. Now, we talk about sex on the radio and video shows. Many will know anything goes. Let's tell it like it is and how it could be. How it was and, of course, how it should be. Those who think it's dirty have a choice. Pick up the needle, press pause, or turn the radio off.
It's Revolution Radio. My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. We're going to be talking about sex addiction today, ladies and gentlemen. And it's as wide as it is deep. I got onto something yesterday, and one thing led to another, and here we are. Brandy Lou, are you there?
Jimmy Jean, I'm here.
Good. So I'm glad you're here because you can be the voice of reason on Into the Microcosm on a Monday for a primetime chunk. But let me get some business out of the way real quick, if you don't mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're fully listener supported. And if you haven't become a supporter, feel free. It's free to become a supporter. And if you got something to donate, that's even better. You can be a supporter and you can help financially support one of the last bastions of free speech on the air, independent and underground public radio the way that it should be with no commercials. That's right. We sent the commercials out for a smoke break and I locked the door on them, and they ain't coming back in on this show or any other show because I think Nighthawk was the one that locked the door on them originally. Somehow they got back in here, but we got kicked them right back out before they got a chance to get any airtime. So you're not going to hear any commercials here. You'll hear some station promos of shows that are here. And let me just say, there's plenty of them. 48 hours a day, 7 days a week. Studio A, Studio B. The home of industrial strength information, ladies and gentlemen. And don't touch that dial. It's got industrial strength information all over it. Unless you got your safety gloves, you got your PPE in order, then by all means. But until then, we got our eye on you. And since we got our eye on you, mosey on over there, become a patron. You can go to the Zazzle store. There's a bunch of new products in there. Everything in there will donate some portion of that sale to the station. And you can mosey on down the bottom down there. Lady Horse is getting ready for spring. She's down at the bottom of the page down there planting flowers. You can go down and send her a piece of snail mail if you wish, if you don't like the technology. There's 38 people online in the chat room over there. And we got a bunch of people over here live on YouTube in our chat room. Into the Microcosm of Jimmy Jean Strike Zone. We've struck out. And now we are over in the strike zone, which is not a bad place to be. But at least we still can, go somewhere. We still have somewhere to go, and that's good. That's always good. So there, the business is out of the way. And like I was saying earlier, my name is Jimmy, and I'm your friendly narrator. And I came in contact with some information yesterday that kind of got me looking into a few things. And sure enough, what I suspected I was able to substantiate with plenty of reams and reams and reams and reams of paper. And I'm not going to bore you with all the paper today. We're going to probably talk a little bit about some of the paper because it's necessary. It's necessary. So this is, we got to sort of unwind this, Brandy, because this whole thing is wound so tight. You need to unwind it a little bit and just kind of move it back and forth and loosen it up a little just to get some airflow going through the stink, through the funk of this behavior modification complex mechanism of depressive-like symptoms, mania, all kinds of psychotic behavior in this never-ending seeking of this dopamine fix. It's like, zombies, frothing out the mouth with white foam coming out of their mouth, walking with their hands out in front of them, just, where do I get my dopamine, man? It's an addiction. And the thing is there's lots of addictions, aren't there, Brandy? I mean, there's...
Oh, there definitely are.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be focusing on one in particular today, sexual addiction. But, I mean, addiction is addiction in a lot of ways. A person who has an addictive type personality, typically, and I mean, because I spent 25 years in Alcoholics Anonymous. So when I'm saying what I'm saying, I'm telling you from experience. So what I say is, the value of one alcoholic or another helping another one of the same, whatever it is. So if you're talking about Alcoholics Anonymous, another alcoholic helping another alcoholic is unparalleled. And, no one can do what that can do because you completely identify with each other and you know what it is. You know what horrible things alcoholics do, and the other person knows that you know. And so you can sit there and, go through your stuff. And it's the same thing with the rest of these, after the success of the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, of course, all these other 12-step programs popped up. You have, for example, you have Narcotics Anonymous. And that's for people who identify in that category but don't feel that they're alcoholics. But a lot of this stuff always seems to go back to alcohol simply because under the influence of alcohol, you'd be able to continue to do your other stuff. Like, for example, if you do coke or you do blow or you do crank, you're going to sit there and drink all night long so you can do more coke. See, but the problem is that what happens is what you really end up finding out ultimately is it wasn't the coke. It was you were doing the coke so you could drink more alcohol. And it always goes back to the alcohol. But anyways, so you have Narcotics Anonymous, and then out of those two spawned, CODA, which is like Codependence Anonymous, is for codependence. And then you have what we're going to talk about today, which is SA, which is Sex Addicts Anonymous. And so there seems to be a big problem with sex addiction. And the funny part about it, Brandy, is that there may be a direct tie into antidepressants with this these oversexed people and these maniac sessions where all they have to do is get an orgasm. You know what I'm saying, Brandy? I think you're muted over there.
Yeah, but that's not the end of it. Nah, it just takes my mute button.
No, I know. I'm glad you had your mute button on because you're probably cursing and swearing at what we found today.
Yeah, but I want to assure the audience, although you might have needed to check your age identification at the door. Don't worry, because we will be practicing safe sex talk here, and you'll be glad you did.
That's right. So I don't know if there's a problem because we age restricted it over on YouTube, so I'm not sure if everybody's having a problem. But look, so Brandy, listen, so there was a recent incident that happened. It's been in the news, and it's being put up there. It's being put out there like a beacon for gun control. And every time I see these incidents happen, I would say 9 times out of 10, you will find that the perpetrator of said heinous act was he himself or she herself on antidepressant drugs. So antidepressants are something that has become prevalent in our society, and in a big way, I would say post 9/11 more so. And you know, we have some statistics on that, and the use of these as a cure-all, as a catch-all. If you go into some sort of a diagnostic situation, you may come out of that diagnostic with this solution being these serotonin uptake inhibitors. Brandy, so do you have them statistics on the CDC website? I think it's report 377 I sent you over there. If not, just let me know.
Yes. Yeah, I have it. And it's definitely been an increase over time. In 1988 to 1944, up to 2008, the increase in the use of SSRIs was 400%. And that went across all ages. So prior to that, you know, you really didn't hear very much about it at all. 2005 to 2008, 11% of the population over the age of 12 was using them. 2009 to 2018, around 10%, 12 years and up. 2015 to 2018, 13.2% of the population 18 years or older was on them. 17.7% it was women, 8.4% was men, and 60 years and up, about 24.3% of them were on these medications. So definitely more women than men are usually on them. And what you want to know, the SSRI, in case you're not aware, what that stands for is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, antidepressants like Celexa, Lexapro, Prozac, Paxil, Zoloft, very, very common. And they have some side effects. They're given usually for anxiety, like a general or a social anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorder, phobias, PTSD, eating disorders. But what you might not know is they're also given for fibromyalgia, premenstrual dysphoria, irritable bowel syndrome, and even premature ejaculation. So the kind of crazy thing about that, though, is this is one of those situations where the side effects can actually be the same as the thing that's being treated. Like in the premature ejaculation, you actually can have a problem with ejaculation if you take the medication. So, and sadly, less than 1/3 of the people that are on these medications will see a mental health professional in the year. So on the medications, but not getting the treatment that they need with them, which you should be getting blood tests to check your levels. I mean, if you take a medication and the uptake is not the correct levels, you actually can be causing depression or causing mania, and those need to be checked, and especially with young people, because young people are still growing, so their levels have to be very closely monitored, like, on a monthly basis. They need to see a professional, and they have to get blood work pretty frequently. So, this is nothing to mess with. And the idea that we had going into this has, as Jimmy said, proven out to be true. And we'll be sharing that with you as we go along here.
Yeah.
So hold on.
Yeah, so, the reason that this came up is because we had a recent incident where a dude went in and shot up a bunch of people, and they were sex workers at these massage parlors, and they said that he had a sex addiction problem. And so I became aware of some information about the treatment for sex addiction and some of the things that go on, which I have not been able to substantiate that fact, but the information provided, even though I could not substantiate this treatment method, the other information that I put together substantiates it regardless of the treatment. So I found the scientific information that proves out a point, and the point is that what was said in this particular conversation was that when somebody goes for treatment for being a sex addict, they give them these antidepressants. And these antidepressants cause this mania in some people, and sex addicts may have become these maniac in search of orgasm. Now, Brandy, you were saying, as far as the antidepressants goes, the more you're trying to have an orgasm, the less possible it is to have with these serotonin uptake inhibitors, are you not?
For some people, yes, that can be a side effect, but it isn't necessarily a side effect for everyone. But another statistic that was interesting is 60% of the people that are on these medications don't report all their side effects to their doctor, or they may not even realize all the side effects. But yes, that does happen.
So now, these are dangerous, and if you decide for whatever reason for yourself, if you happen to be somebody who's on one of these serotonin uptake inhibitors, and you decide that you don't think it's right for you, what you need to do before you make any rash decisions is to contact your physician or your general practitioner or your doctor and talk to them about getting off of these things, because it's not something you just do. And it's dangerous to do it without. There's people that think that they're sleeping, and they think they're dreaming, and they're wide awake, but they're under the impression they're dreaming. This is recently a case where a woman killed her husband. She's writing a book about a story about a woman who killed her husband in his sleep. And she was writing this book, and she was writing it, and she was so immersed in it. And she woke up and killed her husband in his sleep and still wasn't sure she wasn't dreaming. She had to call somebody, and she called somebody to tell him, to ask him if she was dreaming. I think I just killed my husband. I had to call you to find out if I was dreaming or not. And they went, no, you're not dreaming. And she's she's under arrest. And there's a lot of stories about this with the Chantix stuff. I'm not bringing this information to the table. You can search for yourself. You can talk. You can do sleepwalking, anti-smoking drug Chantix, because Chantix is made for anti-smoking. So if you don't want to smoke and you go, doc, you go, hey doc, man, I have had enough, man. I really want to just quit the cigarettes, but I can't do it. And they go, okay, don't worry about it, because I got this thing right here called Chantix. And you take this, and believe me, you're not going to have a problem smoking. And so, but what they don't tell you is that Chantix is an antidepressant. And one of the side effects of that particular antidepressant is it makes you not want to smoke. So they're actually providing a prescription to a person not for what the drug is actually made to do, but for one of the side effects that it has on people that makes them not want to smoke. But it also puts you in this other state where you're having your serotonin uptake regulated by somebody else's idea of the prescription level that you need, and really it's supposed to balance you out. But the thing is these are legal drugs. These are not drugs you buy on the street, and just about from what we can see, there's a high probability that if you're in a room with 10 people, 7 of those people have taken antidepressants, or they're depressed, or they're on antidepressants. My name's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm.
That's right.
Yeah, go ahead, Brandy. We got 2 minutes.
I was just saying that's right. But I do want to confirm there are drugs that will make you sleepwalk like that and not know that you are, and including some sleeping medications, which some of the antidepressants are sometimes even given as sleep medications. And I've had it happen. I baked a cake in my sleep, and my daughter came out and found me. My head was in the oven reaching for the cake, and I had lost awareness of what was going on and was literally falling into the hot oven. So who knows what would have happened if she hadn't been there, and very scary. Never took the med again. So be really careful about these things. Just make sure you have somebody that can, help you when you first start taking them. And Jimmy's right. Don't ever just suddenly go off those meds. It can be physically dangerous as well as dangerous behaviorally.
It is, and the thing is, there's stories from the UK is this dude that, he was sleepwalking and, did a whole like butcher knife scene. And it's no joke, man. This stuff is serious business. And the thing is, it's like when we did the research, on we were doing some stuff on Timothy Leary and stuff, and there was this, there was this piece of tape where they were talking about, the controlling of emotions and the controlling of people's emotions and driving them, psychologically through social engineering, and they were taking credit for moving people in a certain direction. But these drugs were passed around illegally. Okay, you had to buy these drugs on the streets. But in the conversation, Timothy Leary was talking to Bear Stanley, who was the one that had brought the LSD to the table. And what he said in that conversation, and this was 30, 40 years ago, he says to them, well, that's just one of the things we have. He said, we haven't even brought anything out that we have, blah, blah, blah. And so when the light went off in my head when he said that, because what I started to think in my estimation was that what he meant was there's a bunch of these same type of drugs that cause the same kind of dopamine overdose in people, that cause this dopamine addiction, that these drugs are making people's bodies crave the dopamine, and then they're sent into the behavior modification complex to get their fix. My name's Jimmy. We're going to be right back here at the bottom of the hour. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Don't forget. Okay, we're gone. That was a quick half hour.
Went fast.
Yeah. What's up, chat room? I wonder if our chatters can't get in here. Maybe I'll change this from 18 and over.
Actually, I think somebody was making a joke. So, did you guys have trouble? You didn't really have to show your age, did you, to get in?
No, I'm going to change it right now. I'm just going to say, no, it's not made for kids, but I'm going to leave it so you don't have to be 18 and over. Hold on. All right. Oh, what happened?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, though, so.
It won't let me.
Oh, it won't?
Hold on a second. Let me see. It won't let me. Oh, yeah, but it won't let me save it. Oh, you prick.
That's weird.
Why did I mess with it? Okay, hold on. I'm going to hit my back button and see what happens. Oh, shit. Let me go back.
It just looks the same on my end.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. It's not going to happen on your side. I was editing it, but you won't see anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
John says no age restriction when he entered.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know. Now I'm spun out. Okay, give me a second.
Jasmine, you did? You had to send a passport type ID or a credit card? Are you joking, Jasmine?
That's bullshit. There's no way. Scooby Dooby Doo. Scooby Dooby. I was gonna call the Kev Baker show because I can call in just to mess around with him.
That's when Corella said she had to show a doobie to get in.
Nice. That's all you need. That's good. Good enough for me. But where's my tributes? That's the question. All right. Hang on a second. Oh shit! I'm gonna be late.
Thanks, John.
John, Big John.
Jasmine's joking. Jasmine, you had us go in there. Girl.
Big John.
Big John.
Sometimes I wanna sleep in the street.
Stand by. We are going back to the network now. Brandy Lou, are you there? Here we go.
Yes, I'm here.
Alrighty, here we go. And a one, and a two, and a...
Us fairly. You are lying to yourselves. Because we know who they are and what they do. This is what they do. And we must fight back. You can torture us and bomb us. Fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us. Good evening.
Are you awake yet? I hope. We've tried and we've tried for years and years to use passive resistance and loud voices to make a change. The time is over. Your governments around the world have no other goal than to decimate your entire existence at the hands of the bankers and the elites. The war is coming, and it's your choice to decide if you want to be a warrior or a victim. Denial is not a choice anymore. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Not giving up. Revolution Radio. All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Mom's Jimmy. We're talking about some serious business. So before we get going here with the second segment of the show, I just wanted to say, listen, if you have an issue with any of these things that we're talking about today.
However, if you are taking antidepressants and are concerned that you might be experiencing adverse effects, it is important to seek medical advice and not to stop your treatment suddenly, as this may result in withdrawal symptoms.
I've noticed that I'm not sleeping as well. I just don't need sleep.
In summary, our research suggests that antidepressants are associated with a small increase in risk of developing mania.
Mom's Jimmy, it's into the Microcosmos Revolution.radio. We're fully listener supported. We'd really appreciate anything you can do. So mosey on over, become a patron.
Headlights flashing like shooting stars in the fast lane, like an airplane.
It's the spirit of Nighthawk. It's the house that Nighthawk built. Talking about limiting your uptake of serotonin chemically.
That it was not racially motivated. He apparently has an issue, what he considers a sex addiction, and sees these locations as something that allows him to go to these places, and it's a temptation for him that he wanted to eliminate.
A 21-year-old named Robert Aaron Long of Woodstock, Georgia, was taken into custody 150 miles south of Atlanta in connection with the shootings of these sex workers at these massage parlors. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an issue now. So, okay, so here's this guy. Now, Brandy, this issue was taken out from the psychological reference manual. This sexual addiction was taken out and not listed as an addiction because they were afraid of the ramifications of people using this to get off on cases. Isn't that correct? I don't remember when exactly it was taken out. Go ahead.
Yes. So the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistics Manual for Mental Disorders, we're on version 5. So that's the 5th one that's been put out since the American Psychiatric Association's been writing this. The current one, the 5, was published in 2013. And from what I could tell, it looks like we're getting a new one this year. But nothing specifically said 2021. It just said May we're getting it. So I think it's this year, though. But yes, it was taken out, I believe, in around the late 80s, maybe early 90s. And part of it was also because of social constructs, that there was a lot of LGBT activity, society becoming more aware of it and more accepting of it. Prior to that, any type of gay identification or homosexual identification was considered to be a mental disorder. So that got taken out for the reason that Jimmy said, but also because there was definitely a stigma attached to being a homosexual, and this desire to bring it more into the forefront as a acceptable lifestyle. They couldn't do that if it was in this diagnostic manual for a mental disorder. So it got taken out as a mental disorder, and that definitely affected the acceptance of homosexuality, but it also affected the ability to prosecute anybody with doing anything that was classified as a sexual dysfunctional behavior.
Right.
Because the two things were competing, and we're still struggling with the fallout, I guess, and the results of that. So there may have been some good that came from it, but it also created this problem one of the problems that we're talking about today.
Well, yeah, and the fact that it was taken out means that there was no given method or methodology for the treatment of such disorders. So to say that if there were disorders like that existed between the time that was taken out of the DSM and the time that it came back, but a lot of these people were treated in certain ways, and it's just like I say, it's a blanket treatment. Oh, you must be depressed. The whole reason, you're seeking this sexual thing is because you must be depressed, and take this antidepressant, which causes you to want to have sex even more. and the fact that you can't have an orgasm. So I think it's funny that some of the same problems that we've seen crop up with men, penile dysfunction, early ejaculation, premature ejaculation, all these problems that men have been having over the past 10 or 15, 20 years. Well, look what we found out. I mean, it looks like maybe the reason the men have been having those problems isn't because of any of the things that they've been told, but really it's because it's a side effect of the thing that they're taking, that they've just been blanketly prescribed. And it's the kind of thing that is supposed to be regulating the serotonin uptake, but it's supposed to put your system in balance, right, Brandy? It's not just cutting off your serotonin. It's supposed to put you in this balance, right?
Right. It's supposed to make, if you have an incorrect uptake naturally, this medication is supposed to balance it out so that you have the right levels, even, for whatever you're going through. But if it's not regulated and if you're not tested and you're not followed up with good medical care, which the statistics I gave a little while ago showed 60%, or I forget what number I gave, that very high number hadn't even seen a doctor in the last year. So they're on these drugs and they're not even getting properly monitored for it. So yes, it can cause problems.
Well, I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving you medical advice, okay? But I tell you what I do see, so to me I see this this willingness to prescribe these things, and it makes me wonder. We know what they're supposed to do, but it makes me wonder, just like we have a phone that has chips in it that we don't know about, that other people put in there, that pay to have those chips put in there, and we don't know they're there, but they're there. And it's the same thing with this, Brandy. What else does this make you do? What else that we don't know about, but everybody else knows about it, who's into this, who's putting this stuff out? They all know what it does. And so we just trust our physicians. We go ahead. We think this is going to solve our problems. But instead of solving our problems, it gives us 9 other problems. Now all of a sudden, some guy, now all of a sudden he's got a sex addiction. Now all of a sudden he's a sex addict. Because the thing he's taking is making him want to have sex. He's become a maniac. It's become mania to the point that he cannot stand it. And now he's in court and he's saying, well, Brandy, he was a sex addict. He had a problem.
I'm Dr. Stephanie Carnes. My doctorate is in family therapy, so working with families is my passion. I'm also a clinical sexologist and a certified sex addiction therapist and supervisor. I've been working in the addiction field for about 20 years, and working with sex addiction, love addiction, pornography addiction has really been my area of focus and passion. There's a lot of confusion about whether sex addiction is a real disorder because it's actually not in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And it was pulled out of the DSM, and the reason that was given at the time was that there was concern that it would be used to get sex offenders a reduced sentence in court cases. And so there was a lot of energy about that at the time. So since then, there's been a lot of controversy in the field about what to call it and the research around it, and is this a real thing? And we just had a big breakthrough because the World Health Organization has put it in the ICD-11, which is the International Classification of Diseases. So now we have a diagnosis of compulsive sexual behavior disorder in the ICD-11, which goes a long way to legitimize that this is a real problem. Working with sex addicts is incredibly rewarding work. Usually by the time that they come to treatment, they're pretty motivated for change. They've had a lot of consequences around their sexual behaviors, and There aren't many people, specialists treating sex addiction out there, and so many people don't know, how to work with them and, the different nuances of treatment. And so our specialized programs really allow us to focus in on compulsive sexual behaviors or addictive sexual behaviors in a real specialized way, as well as really look at the issues that are underlying their addictions, such as traumas and grief and resentments and family-related issues. It's not about what behavior you participate in. It's about your relationship to the behavior. Does it cause impairment in functioning? Does it cause significant distress?
So this lady is obviously in the business of counseling people who have sex addiction problems. And believe me, there's plenty of them. And if you have a sex addiction problem and, maybe you're hearing this stuff and you're thinking to yourself, man, maybe I got a sex addiction problem. Well, the first step to recovery is admitting that you have a problem in any state. If you're an alcoholic, if you're a drug addict, whatever it is, if you're codependent, anonymous, if you're codependent, any of it, the first step is admitting you have a problem. If you have a problem and you think you do with sexual addiction, you can contact SAA, Sexual Addicts Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous. Contact them because, we can see that this has a tendency to be a problem. Now, Brandy, people are all by themselves now. So people have been under lock and key. So the mania is even increasing even more because there's really, and the thing about this whole thing is you see a large segment of this population is driven to this state of frustration where they can't get satisfaction in sexual ways from, say, an orgasm. They can't get satisfaction that way. They can't get satisfaction on the political fronts. In every single way you see across the board, there's nothing but frustration in people, which causes people to, when people are frustrated enough, what do? They act out, right? So, in the sexual frustration and in the acting out, masturbation has become a cottage industry, but, pretty much. Because like I said, people aren't actually able to go out anywhere and do anything. And there's this whole thing. I don't even know if people even know about this, but did you know there's something called internet sex addiction? It's just on the
I
internet.
do now, because you told me today. It's not surprising, though. Addiction's for everything, so.
Yeah, internet sex replaces real-life intimacy in many cases and has been related to reprimands at work, serious relationship problems, and divorce. Okay, so here. Fantasy appeal. Cybersex offers a private, safe, anonymous way to explore fantasies. This excitement from taking risks without anybody finding out is part of the appeal of the cybersex. For some participants, they may find it erotic just by not knowing who's really on the other end. The anonymity is the important element of cybersexual experience. It gives cybersex participants greater freedom. It could be sharing secret sexual fantasies or creating an interactive sex novel. Cybersex provides an opportunity for people to explore and express their most sexual, private fantasies. Because of the anonymity, cybersex participants live out their fantasies by doing whatever they want and taking any identity they wish with no inhibitions, Brandy. So this is a thing, and people get addicted to the sex. People get addicted to the internet sex. People just get addicted, period. And, anything that comes up at this point.
Your picture of me and you. You wrote I love you. I wrote me too. I see the stare at it. nothing else to do. Oh, it's in color. Your hair is brown. Your eyes are hazel. And soft as clouds. I often kiss you when there's no one else around. I got your picture. I got your picture. I'd like a million of you over my cell. I want a doctor to take a picture so I can look at you from inside as well. You got me turning up and turning down. I'm turning in, I'm turning right, I'm turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. Turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so.
Turning Japanese, the Vapors, ladies and gentlemen. That is a slang term for masturbation, in case you didn't know. Brandy, you didn't know, did you? That's funny.
Did not. I was so shocked because I did not know that, and I used to run around singing that song all the time because I was married to an Asian guy.
I know.
So
you
it
know,
was funny for me to run around singing that because I was learning all the culture and everything. Now I'm just mortified.
it's totally funny too because it goes with what we were talking about last week, which is psychic driving, and that chorus is the psychic driving in that song, Turning Japanese. It's telling everybody to go ahead and masturbate. You know? I'm masturbating, man. Check me out. You know, he's on the radio, getting played every, 18 minutes or whatever. But my name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. We're talking about sexual addiction, and we're talking about this shooter, regardless of whether the shooting was real or it isn't. They brought into the storyline the fact that he was a sex addict. So we're looking at it because it appears that these sex addicts are given antidepressants as one of the ways to treat the addiction. Now, Brandy, the thing about this is, now just on a basic level, we did the show years ago about the hacking of the American mind with what's his name? I think it's Lustig. I can never remember this guy's last name. But anyways, in that book, what happened was your camera
That's
just...
right, Lustig.
Yeah, Lustig. Your camera just came on. So in that book, he's a nutritionist. And in that book, he puts forward that dopamine is pleasure and serotonin is happiness. And that the thing that excretes the happiness or the serotonin are things that don't cost money. Things like petting a puppy, or seeing your kid ride a bike for the first time, whatever. The things that whatever makes you happy, it doesn't cost money. It's free. And the things that cost money, the pleasure, that's dopamine. And so what they've done is they've turned off our serotonin, okay, and turned on our dopamine addiction because we're lacking that. We're searching for this happiness and we think we can't find it. And so we think we're getting happiness, but we're getting the pleasure mechanism, which is the satisfaction of whatever it is you need to do to satisfy it. And the mania that's created by these serotonin uptake inhibitors. I mean, I've got papers here. We can go over it when we come back over the break, because I think we're going to have somebody joining us then and to join the conversation. But I'm going to get into some of these documents that I put together. I've definitely drawn through the research that's been done on this subject, it's clear that, dopamine and serotonin are affected by the serotonin uptake inhibitors and the way that the human body reacts, and the searching for this hookup that we're not getting. That's a result of these serotonin uptake inhibitors and the driving of populations to these behavior modification complex silos, where all you do is just sit there all day long and just get your dopamine. Sit there all day long, get your dopamine, and then this internet sex addiction thing is then we talked about the first part, which was internet, which was fantasy appeal. There's also this whole other angle to it that's really not very nice, and it has to do with underage people getting a hold of this material that's on the internet, and the whole indoctrination going on in these schools and driving young people into a search for information, and they come in contact with some of the most degenerate filth that's ever, graced the silver screen. So when we come back, we're gonna have our special guest joining us, Brandy. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if anything we're saying here you think you might have a problem, you can get a hold of them through Sex Addicts Anonymous. And also, Brandy, don't forget, tell her, here, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on antidepressants, you feel like you don't want to be on them anymore, you need to contact your doctor and get into a conversation with your doctor about it. And I think when our special guest arrives in the next part of the show, we're going to talk about it, another aspect of it, and maybe there is a way to address some of the symptoms that a person might be feeling. Because how much of our being depressed is situational, Brandy? Like we're in a bad situation and we're just feeling funky. I mean, we just feel bad, man. But hey, if we got that job, or we whatever we lost came back, or we found a way to deal with it, we wouldn't need to be on it anymore. But the thing is like, people don't want to deal with problems. They'd rather just take a magic pill and make it all go away, and it's too convenient. But there's a lot of ramifications that I don't think anybody even talks about or thinks about. Go ahead.
Well, we're so used to being in control of everything. I mean, if your room is too hot, you turn the temperature down. If it's too cold, you turn the temperature up. Whether you're driving or, you don't like the song, you change it. So we have been accustomed to being able to control everything and change our feelings, through the use of products that have been advertised to us. So it isn't surprising that it's going to start, dripping down into all areas of our life and all points of our mental and psychological being.
Yeah, I mean, it's to the point where there's so much of this in people that the water that comes out of the sewers, this stuff is, the antidepressants is in there. It's like in the water. It's in the water, and they have this other thing where they make organic planting material called dillo dirt. They spread it out. They dry human poop. Okay, and after it comes out, it's considered organic, but it's filled with antidepressants from the poop. My name's Jimmy. We'll be right back. Stand by, I gotta add Vafangulo. Here you go. Stand by. Okay, hey, Giuseppe Vafangulo. Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, how are you? Great first hour. Really some great information shared and questions being posed as to what the hell is really going on.
I know. I can't.
Hey, Giuseppe.
Hey, Brandy, how are you?
Good. Sorry, Jimmy. You didn't mean to step on you.
You didn't. You did not. So, what we're gonna do is come back. So, Giuseppe, you know what we're talking about. So we'll just get back into it.
Oh, yeah, I heard their whole first hour when I was taking my oldest husky to the vet.
Great, so you can work right into it. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can get something here. I just decided what song we're going to play. Hang on. I got for whatever reason, my internet's all of a sudden real slow. Last night, the volume was getting turned down internally on my computer while I was on YouTube. And they couldn't hear my podcast for like a while, and I didn't notice it until I looked at the chat room. And then I looked on here at my whole input mechanism, there was no input on my computer. Literally, somebody went inside of my computer from the back end and turned off my input.
No shit. Heck? Wow.
What?
I shit you not, man.
Well, especially when we discussed what some individuals that did to Rio. Holy cow!
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was telling you that for. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on. Hang on. We gotta go back. Hang on. Fuck, I gotta get your intro too. Hang on.
Don't wait to create your dream room. Make it a reality today at Living Spaces, where instead of waiting months for your furniture to arrive, get free shipping on any purchase as soon as tomorrow. Bringing your vision to life has never been faster. At
Oh, shut up.
Living Spaces.
Jesus Christ.
We are going to...
More commercials. Yes, Disneyland. Go with your mask on and go to Disneyland. You don't have to go to Disneyland. You're living in Disneyland, man. All right, here we go, son. Here we go, daughter. Here we go, Brandy. Here we go, Giuseppe Vavangulo. Here we go.
Stop! You can torture us and bomb us. Fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us.
Good evening. Are you awake yet? I hope. We've tried and we've tried for years and years to use passive resistance and loud voices to make a change. The time is over. Your governments around the world have no other goal than to decimate your entire existence at the hands of the bankers and the elites. The war is coming, and it's your choice to decide if you want to be a warrior or a victim. Denial is not a choice anymore. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Not giving up. Revolution Radio. All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. It's Revolution Radio. It's hour number 2. We're talking about sex addiction. We're talking about serotonin and uptake inhibitors causing sexual frustration and sexual mania. Having people seeking the orgasm they can never, ever have, with penises that refuse to get hard because of the side effects of some of these chemical...
Jimmy, you're silent on Revolution Radio.
If you see a faded sign at the side of the road that says 15 miles to the Love Shack, yeah. I'm heading down the Atlanta highway, looking for the love getaway, headed for the love getaway. I got me a car, it's as big as a whale, and we're heading on down to the
Mine's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. It's Revolution.radio. It's hour number 2. We're talking about sex addiction.
Shack is a little place where we can get
We're talking about serotonin uptake inhibitors driving people into this sexual mania, a frenzy, and seeking orgasm. Seeking orgasms they can never have with penises that will never function correctly because of the side effects of the serotonin uptake inhibitor.
That's where it's at.
Dancers and the charming songs. But wait a minute, something's wrong. Hey, hey, now it's a mambo, mambo Italiano, a mambo, mambo Italiano, go Joe, you mixed up Siciliano, or you Calabrese, do the mambo like crazy, and hey mambo, don't want a tarantella, hey mambo, no more the mozzarella, hey mambo Italiano, try an enchilada with a fish of bacalao, and hey gumba.
Giuseppe Vavangulo. Are you there?
I'm here.
It's good to see you, Gumbari.
Sí, Gumbari, ¿cómo está?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Well, listen, you're popping in. I'm glad you're here. Second hour. We're talking about serotonin uptake inhibitors and the potentialities for things to go wrong. Now, a body has to be in balance. And whatever this is, whatever these are, the resonance of whatever these drugs are and the side effects and the result of these side effects is causing all kinds of different other things and a chain of events in America that made us turned into a bunch of, dopamine-seeking, frothing zombies that'll do anything we're told because we've been buzzed in like a Skinner box from the behavior modification complex, giving us our dopamine. As much dopamine as you can take in, you can have. And let me tell you something. There's a paper. You can type this in, ladies and gentlemen. Type in psychosis induced by dopamine overdose. And you can see that there's clear that a person who's in a psychotic state to begin with can be driven into a schizophrenic paranoid frenzy just by increasing their dopamine intake. So listen, when you get a like on Facebook, that's a little strike. That's a little dopamine. That's what we're talking about, a little bit of dopamine there. And serotonin we talked about on the other side of the before you got here, Giuseppe. But you brought some interesting thing to the table too with this. You were saying that Chinese medicine has known about these conditions and ways to take care of them for a long time before these antidepressants were around.
Well, right, Jimmy. My midlife career changed nearly 20 years ago as I went back to one of the finest colleges of Oriental medicine, the top 5 in the United States. And I graduated summa cum laude, which means I read all the hard old books, not just the easier books, and because it dates back 6,000 years. And I graduated with a Master's of Science in Oriental Medicine and a Bachelor's of Science, Natural Nutrition, Eastern, Western combined. And then I went into private practice. And so I had a small holistic clinic for 15 years. I closed it last year because I would not wear masks, and maybe if things ever loosen up, I can reopen. But the point being is in Oriental medicine, dating back to the Taoist monks 6,000 years ago, the brilliant, connected, holistic monks who saw the need for a balance of body, mind, and spirit, and saw the flow, the way the Tao, the energy of all things, and how the sun rose, the sun set, replaced by the moon, how spring led to winter. I mean, winter led to spring, led to summer, led to fall, back to winter. And they saw these on the macro scale, but on the micronaut scale, they saw the exact same things happening in the human body. And one of the things they identified, and get this, back then in Chinese culture, autopsies and examination and experimentation on the human body was forbidden. The human body was considered sacred. So all this medicine was developed by observation, palpation, discussion, interrogation. It was all because that's what my show, I took the name, The Perfect Triangle, to name my show, is the perfect triangle in traditional Chinese medicine of the balance between body, mind, and spirit. And get this, you'll dig this. This is, people do not understand this, that there's 12 organ systems. Now, there is a way to treat the actual physical organ. Now, they knew about all the organs because, you know, they had seen people fall off a cliff or get torn up by a tiger. You know, they weren't naive. They knew where the heart was. They knew what the lung, they'd seen the lungs, they'd seen the liver, and they actually, but there's 12 major organs, and some of which were just really fascinating. Like there's one called the Sanjiao, Sanjiao, which translates to triple burner. And that was their way of understanding how breathing in air, digestive system, and lower function of the kidney and the large intestine all work together. And everything is a metaphor in Oriental medicine. So they looked at it like a still making alcohol, right? A still perfectly functioning there's a low fire, and that's your digestive energy in your lower organs. And the steam is rising from your lungs, and the middle part is like the function of the heart and the digestion. It was like an overall system to determine health. So when I say, you know, I'm going to say in a minute that what I mentioned a moment ago, that there's these amazing insights thousands of years ago that are now just being proven by science today. The biggest one of which is everybody thinks everything is functioning in your brain. Well, in Oriental medicine, they identified that there are multiple brains in the human body. There's the brain in our cranium. That's one of the 8 extraordinary organs, much like the uterus and the gallbladder, and they considered it as the master system to take care of all function of the human body. Your consciousness, like when you're looking at your computer screen right now and you feel like Jimmy Jean is this being, that in Oriental medicine, that's called the Shen, and that resides in your heart energy. And there's another major brain in your gut, and there's other brains, another one right down by the first chakra in your sex organs. So it's interesting that they're now proving that actually exists, that there's complex nerve clusters that they never knew what those clusters were, and they finally have opened their minds enough to see that the body has multiple brains. And so that takes things to a whole nother level. It does.
And you know, it's key too, because your internal universe needs to be in balance. And so if one of your organs is out of balance, it can throw the whole wheel of creation down a notch, because now you're not functioning. Things are not going through you like they should. Things are not flowing, whether you call it chi, whether you call it the chemicals that react into your body, in your biological computer, however you want to look at it. The key thing here is the out of balance nature of everything. So when we're talking about balance, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have yourself firmly planted on the ground, someone can push you over with 2 fingers if they hit you in the right spot. And, you know, if you're out of balance, it's easy to push you over. You're a pushover. That's where the saying comes from. You're a pushover. You're easy. You're an easy mark because you're off balance. It's easy to push you over. And, you know, you'll accept the sale, or you'll buy what I'm selling, because you're easy to push over because you're already off balance. And that's the key to some of these psychological operations that you got to remember is it's called, in poker, when you're gambling, it's called putting the other player on tilt. He doesn't know what you have, but you make him think you have something and you put him on tilt. He starts to question what he has. See, that's called putting on tilt. Same thing. Everything is thrown out of balance, and the only place we can go is the feeding trough we've been driven into, Giuseppe Vaffangulo. They've driven us to this. They've made us addicted to dopamine, and the only place to get it like we really want it is right over there on the internet. Right? You know what I mean?
Jimmy, I'll tell you what, that is true for if you're controlled by the controllers, but we are not. And the remember a few weeks ago you were having a really bad bout of sciatica, and I told you that was my number one patient category in my 15 years of practice was neck, cervical, spine and low back issues. That was my number one patient category. But I'll give you 3 guesses to what my second largest category was.
Depression.
You already. That's right. That's exactly right. And you know what? I can't tell you how many people I got off Prozac and those other toxic overkill drugs, and you do have to step down. And every time I for example, I had a suicidal young woman who had her boyfriend dumped her. She had lost her job and she hated being on Prozac. So this is how you got to do it. You need to find a skilled natural practitioner. You have to have the patient tell the doctor, look, I want off this. And then as soon after a few days, you are addicted to Prozac. It changes the way your brain functions, and you have to step down. If they have you on 100 milligrams, you have to go 100 to 75 to 50 to 25. You have to wean your body off it, which is so sad. And so there is a natural way to treat depression concurrent with all 3 points of the perfect triangle: body, mind, and spirit. And I would say the most important element is ignored in Western allopathic medicine, which is the spirit.
You're 100% a beautiful person for sharing that with the audience, man. And so addiction comes in many forms. It's not just depression. It's not just this seeking, and these serotonin uptake inhibitors seem to cause the seeking of these addictive devices that are present everywhere that you look. So we talked a little bit earlier about internet sex. So there's people that the only sex that they have is on the internet. In other words, there's never a one-on-one. It's never a one-on-one.
Yeah.
So people are addicted to this. This is a problem for people. Literally, to the point where
it is a big problem.
I mean, especially now when you got people sitting at home all day, got nothing to do all day. I mean, they're turning Japanese or whatever. So,
did you explain that is what that song is about?
Yeah.
When we were young in that song, we knew that, but maybe a lot of people don't know that turning Japanese is about masturbation.
Right. I did. We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Brandy didn't.
He humiliated me.
I did.
Well, come on, Brandy.
Nah.
I did not know, and I went around singing
you
it.
didn't? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, she didn't know. But I didn't humiliate her on the air. I told her off the air, and she's like, I didn't know. And so I wasn't trying to humiliate you. Wow, that's a strong term, Brandy. Jimmy humiliated me. But see,
we honor you, Brandy.
No, I didn't mean you humiliate. I mean the situation humiliated me.
Well, it's funny is some people are into being humiliated, and they can find.
Oh, jeez.
No, I'm serious. They can find.
It's true. It's absolutely true. That's why I laughed.
And they can
I'm not.
You know what? Listen, I just want to say I'm here, and I'm not making fun of this. I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, please don't take what I'm saying wrong, but it is funny. So I guess I am making fun of it in a way, but I don't mean that this being a sex addict is funny. But I'm on this website, and it's. It says there's 3 boxes. One box says 2 question marks. Am I a sex addict? Okay. And then the next box in green right in the middle, it says find a meeting. So, I mean, yeah, I'm a sex addict, and I click on find a meeting. Does that mean I get to go meet up with somebody else as another sex addict? You know what I'm saying? No, but seriously, in these 12-step programs, it's always important to remember, these programs are filled with people. So people are the same wherever you go. It doesn't matter. They're the same in AA or whatever. So in AA, they had this thing, because I was in AA for 25 years. I've been to, thousands of meetings, literally. And so there's this thing, and personally, I know this is true. So there's 12 steps in the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, there's something called the 13th step. Okay? The 13th step is where people that have been in the program, for a while, they got the talk. They talk the talk, the recovery talk. And then there's these newcomers that come in. They're on this pink cloud. And these old-timers seem like they're these gurus or whatever. And they just basically entrance them into, having sex or whatever. It's called the 13th step. You know what I mean? So, the thing is, it's not hard to get somebody to bump off the wagon, man. You know what I mean? So, in Alcoholics Anonymous, you don't want to have a drink. Lots of people fall off the wagon, but I bet in Sex Addicts Anonymous, it's the same thing. You can only be abstained for so long without some sort of, I don't know what you can do about it. What is it that, when was a person I guess the big question is, can we ever be satisfied, or we've been put into a psychological state where we can never find satisfaction no matter what we do, no matter how many orgasms we have, no matter how much sex we have, no matter how much retail therapy we do, no matter what we do, no matter how many letters we write to the congressman, no matter how many protests we go to, we're all, no matter what it is, we're completely and utterly frustrated. And that is a sex practice, to keep somebody on the edge of an orgasm forever and ever and ever and never let them release. It's called torture, ladies and gentlemen. 50 Shades of Grey, ladies and gentlemen. Smacking that ass, ladies and gentlemen. Exactamundo. My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. We're coming up. We got about 5 minutes before the break. Giuseppe Valfangulo, are you on antidepressants?
Jimmy, I long ago realized that the natural way and the spiritual path was the right path for me. I have never been on any Rockefeller snake oil prescription other than I had infected abscess tooth, and I've been on some antibiotics. Other than that, I've always known since my early 20s that I chose the natural way.
Well, you know what, man? I felt the same way, and I went through cancer treatment, and I was going through my treatment. Everybody knows I had stage 4 lymphoma. I'm just going to get to the point. So in that treatment, I was going to quit smoking because I had cancer, and I was going through my chemotherapy, and I wanted to start a new life, and I wanted to quit smoking. So they go, hey, that story I told you earlier about, giving it to you to quit smoking, that story was my story. That's what they did to me. I didn't even know it was an antidepressant. I just thought I was quit smoking stuff, and I was taking it, man. And I swear to God, the first 3 days I took that stuff, the stuff that begins with the letter C and ends with X. I've been on a lot of drugs in my time, and including, LSD and, everything you can imagine in my younger years. I've never been so high as I was the day that I took that stuff. I took it for 3 days and I quit taking it. And then I did research on it, and I come to find out that it was a side effect that made me want to quit smoking, that it was actually an antidepressant. And I specifically, because they told me, they go, oh, well, Jimmy, everybody that goes through what you're going through always gets on antidepressants or whatever. And I go, well, I said to the dude, I go, well, look, man, when will I get off them? When will I ever get off them? I'd rather go through it now and never have to go through it again and never look back and come back and deal with my problems later. I don't want to deal with my problems later. I want to deal with them now. So how long would I have to be? Well, typically it's about, Jimmy, it's about 2 years. I said, no way, man. I'm not doing it. And then they even still, snuck it in on me, even though I told them I didn't want it. Go ahead.
I remember how powerful it was when you were the honored guest on the Perfect Triangle a few weeks back, and you shared that story of you wanted a system, and ultimately it's the patient, the individual, who what you believe will help you is the path you got to follow. I mean, your belief allows you to be alive and in good health now. You know, if you went the natural way and you didn't believe it was going to help you, you'd be dead now. The belief is everything. But I would make one observation, is you mentioned on a show a day or two ago that you're a high functioning empath, and that means you're open to all types of things, and you went in to the absolute satanic cesspool that is Hollywood and entertainment and music and all that. And you're a decent guy, you're a giving guy, and the time I've known you, you're really good to your friends and caring. And so you didn't know that you're opening up to all this dark energies that feed on people, and in many cases that drives addiction. I mean, people do not understand that the not, you know, pinch your body, that is only a fraction of what's going on the full spectrum of sentience and energy and frequency. And there's a lot of things that like to feed on human suffering and feed on dissonance. And the other thing that I quickly point out is, in my mind, the reason Alcoholics Anonymous works so well is the sharing of you're a super edgy raw nerve when you come to the program, and you're meeting people who have found a certain kind of harmony, a certain kind of balance, and that's being shared. It's like a wisdom path transfer, and that's why it works. And so that's ultimately what you have to find. I mean, there's no magic pill for any addiction, but you have to find a way to find your inner balance and focus on that. And sometimes in the case of sex, you got to become celibate for a while and get away from all the triggers that were compelling you to do it.
Well, you know, it's this 12-step program, man. It's one step at a time. And if you follow the steps one at a time, and you're earnest about it, it doesn't matter how long it takes, but you have to be thorough. And the very first thing that you have to do, if you do, is you have to admit that you have a problem. Admitting
without a doubt.
Yeah, admitting that you have a problem then allows you to find some sort of solution to that problem. And that could just mean your health. Admitting that you have a problem with something, if there's something bothering you, something's wrong, you need to go to the doctors. You know, you need to go to the doctors, man. Don't like play games or whatever, because stuff means stuff, man. There's a whole, like Giuseppe was saying earlier, when your body gets out of balance, man, for a reason. You know, I have a strong reason to believe when we come back from this break, we'll get more into the subject. I have a strong reason to believe. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist, okay? I'm not a microbiologist. I'm just telling you my gut feeling on this, and I bet you I'm right, that eczema is a precursor to cancer. And that when people got eczema, I bet you they get cancer. Because I had eczema on my leg and on my arm for a long time when I was sick, before I knew I had cancer. I had it in this one spot on my leg, on the side of my calf, where there's all these lymph nodes, man. Same thing.
Me too, Timmy. Right on my chest, that chest cancer that I had eczema there first.
Well, it makes perfect sense. You guys may know or may not know that the biggest organ in the body is the skin, right? And there's a constant flow of all types of fluids, lymph, blood, and various, we're made of water. We have water flowing. And so when there is a blockage and a dysfunction, you will have those initial symptoms. You're absolutely right. I mean, in my medicine, everything is a clue, and you use differential diagnosis to put those clues together and eliminate some causes. And ultimately, if you know what you're doing in this medicine, you always come to what it is. And so, yeah, eczema is absolutely a sign of something wrong internally, without a doubt.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because you see all these commercials about all these people that got eczema. It's like all of a sudden you start seeing these commercials on TV about phlegm like moving into your lungs and setting up a house. And they were kicking back watching TV. I mean, when did phlegm all of a sudden become a fucking national problem where there has to be some shit that develops? And they make a commercial where it's showing it taking up residence in your chest. It's because they're spraying that shit, and everybody's got shit in their chest.
Yep.
That's why. It's fucking...
And the shit they eat, the GMOs they eat, fuck up, and it can't be processed. So in Oriental medicine, it starts with us. That's called chi manifestation, that when it coagulates so much, chi, the energy and the blockage, can become physical. And that's what phlegm is. That's what tumors are. Everything, if it gets to a bad stage, can take a physical form when you've got excesses, blockages, and deficiencies. It's really, really interesting.
And plus, the GMOs make amino acids in the body that the body doesn't know what they are because they don't exist in nature, and it causes inflammation. So everybody's in fucking pain, man. All right, here we go. Last segment. I'm going to talk about Dillo Dirt when we come back. So, if you don't know what it is, search it. DILLO. Dillo Dirt, Texas.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
To wave your finger, you must have been out your head. I hold deep in muddy waters, you practically raised the dead. Rob the grave to snow the cradle, then burn the evidence down. Soapbox house of cards and glass, so don't go tossing your stones around. You must have been high. You must have been high. You must have been.
My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. It's 4:20 on the West Coast. My watch is slow. It's always on 4:20. But, yeah. Send it to Microcosm, RevolutionRadio.com. We are listener supported, so step on over, become a supporter. We appreciate it. If you're listening to it now, somebody paid it forward. If you haven't donated before, come on down and be a first timer. It's like a virgin. Woo! For the very first time. That's right. We're talking about sex addiction, ladies and gentlemen. The messages are coming in high and fast. And I don't know what they say because I can't read the screen from this far away, but I'll figure it out in a second. I'm sitting here with Giuseppe Vafangulo and the lovely, the effervescent Miss Brandy Lou. And come on in, guys. So I was just going to mention, you know, we all we all seek health. And so we've heard here and there that organic is the way to go. Organic. Everybody get organic with it. You know, everybody's doing like their hands are in the air like they just don't care. They're all at the store looking for organic vegetables. Well, we're talking about antidepressants and serotonin uptake inhibitors. And so what I wanted to bring up is something called Dillo Dirt. Dillo Dirt. Now, Dillo Dirt is a thing that's going on that everybody should be aware of. Now, we know that, you know, obviously we have to excrete our waste. This waste goes into the system, into the sewers, and then this fecal matter is then siphoned off and hauled out to a place where they dump it on the ground, and it lays there and it dries out. Okay? Then what they do is they take it and they put it in bags and they sell it as Dillo Dirt. Now, this is called Dillo Dirt, and this is organic. So you can buy this for your organic farm, pour it on your organic vegetables, and grow yourself some big old fat vegetables out of that organic material. But unfortunately, it's full of those antidepressants and all that other stuff that was in there. You know, they can't filter it out. So what are you going to do? You know, it's like every single solution that you come up with, Giuseppe Vafangulo, there's something nefarious about it. I mean, you know, there's some organic farms in Mexico. Like when you go down to the supermarket and you're waving your hands in the air like you just don't care. You see a melon that says organic in Mexico. Yeah, go take a look at some of the places where they grow that. It's down in Tijuana, literally in a funk swamp. I mean, it's organic, all right, but I mean, have you ever seen? Mexico doesn't have the same kind of regulations as we have. So, you know, yeah, it's organic material that it's grown in, but what's in that material is the question, Giuseppe Vafangulo.
Well, I know growing up in Milwaukee, since 1926, they've taken everyone's bodily waste, their poop, and dried it out and turned it into a fertilizer that's sold nationwide called Milorganite. And so, you know, everyone who urinates out birth control, who poops out SSRIs and the other pills, because most of those pills are not digested anyway. They come out your rear end. You only get about, that's why they try to tell you to take it with food and things like that. So all that's in the fertilizer or in the Dillo Dirt. So you're making a very good point, especially the last 40, 50 years with the over medication of the Western population.
Yeah, Brandy, when you go to the store, do you buy organic because you want to, you know, have nice food for your family and take care of them?
Not usually, because I know it's not really probably any better than the other stuff. It's contaminated too.
Yeah, the other thing is it's way more expensive for you to want to live healthy. And the thing is, it costs you, costs a bunch of money. They're just looking at you. Look at these suckers, man. There's a sucker.
And a lot of people don't know. You can just take the vegetables and fruits and you soak them in a vinegar water solution, and that takes off a lot of the contaminants right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what, man. put your strawberries, go down to the supermarket, buy yourself a pack of strawberries, and then put some of those strawberries, put some of those in a mixture of salt water, and cut it in half, and then put it in a mixture of salt water, and watch the magic that happens.
Pretty gross.
Watch the magic, ladies and gentlemen. You'll see the worms coming out. That's right.
Go do you a little science experiment. It'll be lots of fun.
Seriously though, the thing is though, here's the thing is that's the thing is it doesn't matter which you when there's either or choices. In both situations, the person will benefit from either choice that you make. That's what we're talking about here. So the thing is, you found out it wasn't good to eat the GMOs, so you're gonna go eat because GMOs cause amino acids to happen in the body that don't exist in nature, so the body doesn't know what to do with it. So people are inflamed. Everybody's got inflaming going on. Whatever's wrong with you is inflamed for whatever reason. And so people are walking around all inflamed and pissed off. People are angry and socially engineered into these boxes where they're just on this, constant seek for dopamine. Nobody gets any happiness. Our lives are being just drained out. So no matter what decision we make, we end up in the same frustrated situation. And somehow out of that, we got to find balance, Giuseppe Vangulo. How can people find balance for themselves at home? Do you have any suggestions of how maybe, besides the main thing, which would be to unplug from the information pipe, and don't be an infomaniac. Do not be an infomaniac. Stop the mania, the searching crazily for information on the end of the world, man. When the end of the world comes, it'll come. Believe me. And no matter what you thought it was going to be, it ain't going to be what you thought. And it's going to happen.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Giuseppe Vangulo. How can people get their self back into alignment with the natural frequencies of the earth?
Well, there's many techniques, and one of the first I would suggest is ending overstimulation, which is too much internet, too much television, too much radio, especially modern music. It's such a tribal cacophony, of repetitious beats, and you've done shows on all that. And so, okay, so you eliminate all that. Listen to soothing classical music or soothing music, new age music, and then meditate and go out. There's something called earthing. Everyone, every day when the weather's pleasant, you should take off your shoes and socks and literally go stand in some grass or stand in some dirt for 5 or 10 minutes and just deep breathe. There's something called Tai Chi, and very basic Tai Chi. You can do like an 8-move Tai Chi when you're earthing, which is you center your body with your feet spreaded about the width of your torso, and then you close your eyes. You put your tongue on the roof of your mouth where your third eye is, and you breathe through your nose and out through your mouth, and your hands come up from your root chakra to your heart chakra, and then you push out. That's the second move. Then you spread out like a bird. That's the third and the fourth move. Then you do it again, and the second time you put your hands up to the crown chakra, and then you bring it back down, and it's about a minute-long exercise, and you do it like 10 times, and that's as good as an acupuncture treatment to move your body's energy. And simultaneously, you should meditate at least 30 minutes a day, and sometimes if you have the time, 60 or 90 minutes. Just breathe. If you fall asleep, fine, but a lot of times you won't. You'll just be in this quiet, serene thing, and learn how to quiet the madness and repetitious thoughts of your small brain, the small man in Oriental medicine, and quiet it. And then there's all kinds of nutritional elements you can take that are very soothing. Like everybody talks about in the Western world, St. John's wort. St. John's wort's harsh. I never prescribe it. I don't even like valerian. There's other ones that are very, very good for you. And there's some blends in Chinese medicine. There's two traditional blends. One's called Relax Wanderer and one's called Free and Easy Wanderer. And Relax Wanderer is a little enhanced to help settle down your gut if your dissonance is giving you digestive issues. And then just learn and find really good friends or family members who you can talk to. Talk therapy, not psychiatry by drugs, but talk to someone who you love and trust and who will listen to you. So many people in the modern world don't feel like they're being heard, don't feel like they're being seen, don't feel like they have a place because they're always looking externally. And that's why we have these following these fads, and now it's getting so bad. We've got body mutilation and all this really strange stuff. Body mutilation is a rite of passage in indigenous cultures. It's all part of the great path from birth to adulthood and maturity. And in the Western world, especially in the United States, there's no such wisdom path. They intentionally keep you as a prepubescent, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. You've just got to really step back and do everything you can to find serenity. That is the key in this insane world.
It is key. And listen, I want to say, if you do have a problem and you do have a 12-step type of problem where you need to contact a 12-step program, whether it be Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever it is, I highly recommend that you talk about your problems with somebody in an anonymous situation and do not involve your family in your self-help, because your family are the people that know how to hurt you the worst. And when you're in a vulnerable situation, like you want to be around other people that have been through what you've been through and that can guide you in a good way, because in a more healthy way, as opposed to the guidance that you might get. Nothing against what you're saying, Giuseppe. I understand what you mean.
Well, it's two different things. It's two different things. I'm talking about a person who's not crossed into addiction. You're absolutely right. Codependent relationships exist with family members when you're an addict.
Exactly, and they'll just feed whatever it is because they get their juice out of what it is that you do. So as an alcoholic, having a codependent partner, they get energetic juice out of you being an alcoholic. So the thing is, when you start to become an alcoholic and you realize it and you start to quit, there's people who feed off of you vampirically because of the energy they get from you when you're in that state. And so when you try to break away from that, those people will try to stop you. They'll say, "Oh, fuck, you don't have a problem. Don't worry about it."
There are people that are addicted to the adrenaline and the excitability of what you're doing, and then that codependency that you have together, it feeds off back and forth. So they always say the relationship can only be as healthy as the least healthy person in it. And that's a really good example, because if you're trying to stop and correct your behavior, that breaks up marriages and relationships, because the person that isn't healing can't take the person that's healing. So that is so true, Jimmy.
I can tell you from firsthand, I put my mother as the oldest child. My father was a multi-addict, sex, gambling, alcoholism, and he would never entertain the idea of working a program. My mother really lost it with alcoholism. 5 times I put her in a sanatorium, they called them then. They used to have it where you'd put the alcoholic in, and for 28 days they'd dry out, and she'd come out and she'd be okay. And within a few weeks, my father had sabotaged it all. I finally said, "Look, I'm not doing this anymore. I wish you well, but this is killing me too." And I got involved and helped. I wrote the first pamphlet for the adult children of alcoholics in Wisconsin in the mid '80s, and got involved with that for a while. But I'll tell you, Jimmy, you may know this only too well. There's a certain person who gets into working programs and they want to stay there and be known as the victim. They wear a badge. And after a while, I just couldn't handle that either. So ultimately, everybody's got to follow their own path. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, the 12-step program does work. You know, the 12-step programs, Alcoholics Anonymous, it's in the first 154 pages in the book. Anything else is somebody's opinion. If you do what it says in that 154 pages of that book and you're earnest about it, I'm going to tell you, it worked for me and it kept me clean and sober. I went in there and I never looked back for 25 years. I didn't have a drink or a drug, no matter what I went through. And let me tell you something, man. I went through a lot. I went through stuff that would have made people lay on their couch and drink themselves to death for the rest of their lives. And I didn't drink. And the reason I didn't is because of what I learned about myself by working those 12 steps. You know, you got to go and be with other people that understand you. Your family does not understand you. If you have sex addiction, your family's not going to understand you. And let me tell you something else, man. If you all of a sudden get in this little mood where you're going to share how you've learned something about yourself psychologically and you want to go share that with your family, some family members are going to use that against you next time. They're going to say, yeah, they're going to bring up you do this. They use it as a weapon. Don't let it be a weapon. Have it be a tool for you to get out of your situation, man. If you got a problem, they got Sexual Addicts Anonymous. Go check it out. Alcoholics Anonymous, Codependents Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous. Doesn't matter what it is. First step is admitting you have a problem. So, what can you say?
And I think the Serenity Prayer is one of the most effective and beautiful prayers there is, and that comes out of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. But you got to find a power greater than yourself. But it doesn't say you got to believe in God or you got to be a Christian. If you have a power greater than yourself and you admit to yourself, to another human being, and a power greater than yourself, you got a problem, you're going to get some help, man. I mean, I'm just
right.
All I can tell you is if I guarantee you, if you follow those 12 steps, you do what it says in the first 154 pages of Alcoholics Anonymous, doesn't matter what, change alcohol for whatever it is that you do and make that 12-step program, it works. Okay? It works, period. You have to do the work. You have to do the legwork too. Just like you got to go inside, get yourself back in balance. You got to unconnect, disconnect, drop the line, cut the feed, man. Cut the feed. Listen, the internet is not as evil as everybody puts it out to be. Do you realize, realistically, the internet gives you everything you're looking for? The internet can give you whatever you want to have, and it does. And because of what you look for, because of the things that you look at and what you're interested in and all this, the internet knows exactly what you're looking for, and it provides it for you on a daily basis. You'll never see anything outside of that. You're not going to see viewpoints outside of the viewpoint that you have because the internet's trying to dish you up what it thinks you want to see. If you're looking for the end of the world, man, everything you look at, there will be some kind of context to the end of the world involved in it. So you got to decide what it is you want to do, how many times you want to hit yourself in the face with a hammer before oh, you're awake. Look at all those sleepy sheep over there. You're Mr. Awake over there. Look at all the sleepy sheep. Yeah. Well, check this out. The minute you realize there's some sleepy sheep over there, there's a guy over there who's up the pyramid from you looking down at you going, look at this sleepy sheep. He thinks he's awake, and he's still totally asleep. He's got no concept of reality whatsoever. You're living in a fantasy world if you think any of this stuff is going to be solved for you. The only one's going to solve any of your problems is you, period. My name's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. Giuseppe Vafangulo's here, and Brandy Lou, and we are kicking back, and we are kicking over the we're kicking the can, man.
Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor, the rich get rich. That's how it goes. Everybody knows.
I got knocked off.
Everybody knows that the boat is leaking.
Everybody knows. So now you know. So, you know, you can make a decision for yourself how you want to work it out. You know, the bottom line is like it's really a solo journey from beginning to end, and you know, you have different characters present in your life, and you know, different circumstances, you know, and like you were saying earlier, some people have to self-medicate from the pain and the emotional pain that they go through, and they find a way to self-medicate. So a lot of people medicate outside the system, you know, and you can see this direct correlation to the rise of the opium production in Afghanistan, the rise of the prescription drug of these opioids, these codeine pills being prescribed like they're going out of style, like they're water, like they're passing it out, and then all of a sudden they cut it off. And they say you're a dope seeker if you're trying to get your pain meds, and they drive people to the streets paying 3 times as much as they were for the opium that they were buying on the prescription drugs. So they cause people to be addicted to the opium through the system by prescribing it, and then they say you're a medication seeker if you were on it, and now you want to kill your pain. Now you can't kill your pain. How are you going to do it? Well, you got to go to the street and buy it off the street. Get your pain meds off the street. You got to self-medicate. You got to get down and buy yourself a $6 bottle of vodka or whatever and kill the pain. You know? Stop, man. Listen, being in pain, being inflamed, being angry, being emotional, all of these things, I really hate to say it all, but it's really not natural. Everything, the conditions that we're under right now are all a matter of the behavior modification complex and the direct connection to your brain and the internet. If the power goes out, you're not going to have any of this stuff going on whatsoever. We got 2 minutes left. Come on in, Giuseppe Vavagula and Brandy. Come on in and say goodbye, everybody.
Well said, Jimmy. I mean, ultimately, you have to own your own power, right? And if you do, you have a better than average fighting chance of ridding yourself of the addiction, of ridding yourself of that dissonance, of that inner pain. And there's many, many ways to heal. And hopefully the natural way works for you. Definitely 12-step works. And don't get fooled by the parasites who want to suck you into their pseudo-religious BS and all that.
Go ahead, Brandy. We're about out of here. You got last words there?
Just to encourage everybody, always remember there's something to be thankful for. Live with a thankful, grateful heart, and try to think positive. Those are 2 of the best things that you can do for yourself. Thanks for being with us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. And remember, if anything you heard here tonight made you question maybe some of the drugs that you're taking, prescription drugs, remember, before you decide to quit any of those drugs, you make sure that you get with your doctor and have a discussion about it. We're not doctors. My name's...
It's coming down like thunder.
Man, somebody in that chat room over there is saying that somebody on A was promoting socialism or something. So Lady Horse is protecting us. She's saying nobody on A was promoting socialism. I didn't even know somebody had said something. So go back and scroll through that chat. There's something going on in there. I'm not sure what it was. But it was funny because I took a nondescript hit on that dude right before he was about to come on, that last little bit there. Right.
Well, that's because that shithead Scott McKay, the Patriot Street Fighter, is coming on, and all his mouth-breathing mongoloids are they're so weak-minded. It's offensive.
Oh, dude, I'm just telling you, go back and if you want to check it out, go back and look in that chat. You were in there already, so you're not logged out. Just scroll back.
Oh, I left though because I can't stand those people. But I'll see if it. Yeah, okay, I'll go back in there.
Yeah, because I don't know how long it lasts or how long it stays in there. So I thought that was actually a fucking fantastic show, man, all the way around. You guys really hit it out of the park. Brandy, you were fantastic.
Well, as did you, man. You were on fire.
Well, hey, it's like it was a subject that had meaning, man. There was meat there, so I mean, I didn't have to just lay here and
a reason to do it. It makes all the difference.
It does, that's the thing. Doing shows, that's what these shows, I mean, I found the direct correlation to it, man. You can go back and listen to the show. Everything I said, I found papers on it. I mean, I could sit here and give you guys all the papers that I found, but it's not necessary. I mean, if you want to research it yourself, you're welcome to it. I mean, it's
people can look.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. There's this thing. It's like it's like this shoe.
We were both researching, and we both found it. Like separately, we both found corroborated evidence documents.
Yeah, and it's like a triangle shoot. Like one end's open big and the other end's real small. And you start out here. Everybody's out here, and they get forced into this thing, and you get pushed further and further down until you get smaller and smaller until you can come out that little hole on the other side. You don't have any of the baggage and shit that you had behind you. You left all behind and you come out of there. That was what it was like after the first 90 days of being locked down. Everybody was new and fresh because it takes 90 days to break a habit. So everybody got their habits broken, and then for the next 90 days they established new habits. And now those habits have been established, and the only way to break those is to have a 90-day period where you can break those habits, and there's not going to be one. So the habits that were formed of the mask wearing and all this other stuff, it's going to be real hard to break those now, because that was definitely put in there. The time frames on this was definitely done for a reason. So you're looking at like 90-day time frames.
Yep, it's all. They have a very sinister plan, Jimmy, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I gotta feed the dogs, man. So I swear, thank you guys so much. I mean, everything you guys did was really fantastic. You guys made the show great. I had done the research on a few things because of something that I heard, but you guys are the ones that, all of us coming together, with our information, our insight, and your holistic information, dude, was it was 5-star. It was top notch, and a combination with the rest of the information that we put together there, to bring that in on the table and to have the ability to bring that in, dude. I'm telling you right now, I'm in awe, man, of what you brought to the table, dude. And you deserve praise, man. I did.
Yeah, it couldn't
well,
have been
thanks,
better.
Jimmy.
Just the cherry on top for sure.
Yeah, both you guys. I heard the first hour when I was bringing my pooch back from the vet, and it was just great. It was a great show. And Brandy, that's fascinating. I didn't type it in, but typically out of those 1 out of every 100 people, acupuncture doesn't work. And typically 90% of those people, it's because they're heavily alcoholic or heavily addicted to some drug. But really? There have been people who are just like, I had this one woman, she was really skeptical and didn't believe it. And I'm like, well, let's give it a shot. And she was so skeptical. I don't know if it was her mind prevented it from working, but she was a clean whistle conservative lady and didn't drink or do anything, and the needles did nothing for her. So it's really, really rare, but it does happen.
Well, and I thought maybe it was a mind over matter thing too, but I was really open to it. I mean, I really wanted it to work, and I had heard it worked. I know people that really swear by it, so I was kind of shocked. I was like, maybe it is working, and I just don't know it. And the acupuncturist was like, I don't think this is doing anything for you, is it? No.
That's exactly what I would say. I'm like, typically, because for example, back pain. Literally, I had a guy come in one time, a truck driver who got knocked off a dock when they because he was jacking some pallets, and I don't know if you've ever seen that little thing where you put it under a stack of pallets, and then you use a little pneumatic thing, and it slipped and it knocked him off the dock, and he fell on his back like 6 feet down. He came in with 2 canes, and in one treatment he came out carrying the canes. He couldn't believe it. Wow. He was weeping. He's like, I haven't been able to put my socks on in a week. And yeah, sometimes you can hit it out of the park, but in that case, I know what I did. There's a treatment. You use the extraordinary vessels, and you can decompress the entire spine and the hips. So clearly he had, like, one of his lumbar discs had shifted bad, and they were it was digging into his spinal cord. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I moved it back. Yeah. So there's I could spend the next hour telling stories of people who felt they had a miracle, and it's a cool feeling. But that's what makes it even worse or weirder when I don't think I'm feeling anything, Giuseppe. Really? That's kind of funny.
Well, I tell you what, man. People are delusional. I'm telling you right now. That's my handlers calling me to tell me I went too far. No, these people are literally, somebody's still saying Pat Rabbit's fighting with whoever it is said that we were socialists, and now they're thank you for what you do. Here, listen to this. No, listen to this. Hold on.
We didn't even talk about anything like that.
I know. Wait a minute. Listen to this. There's something in here about Scott on his Harley. Is Scott riding a Harley all of a sudden now? Is he all of a sudden riding a Harley? Scott? Okay. What the seriously, dude? I mean, come on. Anyway, if you guys don't mind.
We talked about social psychological, but not
it's
not
bullshit.
That.
Yeah,
Socialism.
these are freaks, man. These people believe that Hillary's been locked up and Trump's coming back in 2 weeks or whatever. They're fucking out of their minds, man. Sorry to say.
Not happening.
Ain't happening, man.
Trump's part of the scam. He's the controlled opposition.
That's what we were just talking about earlier. You think you're buying organic, man. Trump's like same thing, organic, but grown in shit, man. My name's Jimmy. This has been Into the Microcosm, and I will be back as soon as possible. And this is my boy, Jim Carroll, guitar player of this band, Stevie. I went to grade school with him.
No kidding.
Swear to God.
At children when the nurses passed, was convicted of theft. When I slipped from the womb, they led me straight from my mother to a cell in the tombs. I was a Catholic boy. I was redeemed through pain, not through joy. They starved me for weeks. They thought they'd teach me fear. I fed on cellmates' dreams that gave me fine ideas. When they cut me loose, determined to serve me well. I made allies in heaven, I made comrades in hell.